right, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited to provide you an update on the ProPEL Indy study. Thanks you to those of you who are joining us online. You are welcome to leave comments in the chat. They will be recorded and reviewed by the study team. So for those of you who aren't familiar, ProPEL Indy is a collaborative effort to reimagine the future of I-65 and I-70 inside the I-465 loop in Indianapolis. Over the last 2 years, Central Indiana residents, commuters, businesses, and neighborhoods have shared their ideas, concerns, and insights for the future of our interstates. So ProPEL Indy's study area includes approximately 26 miles of I-65 and I-70 within the I-465 loop. Now, as I mentioned, this study started about 2 years ago, and just want to give you a quick recap of our progress to date. Since the study's launch in 2023, we have made a concerted effort to engage with the public. The study team has attended more than 130 events and received more than 1,600 comments from stakeholders who use, work, or live near the interstates. This feedback, alongside our team's collection and analysis of data, helped our team identify transportation needs or issues in the study area. These include aging bridge and pavement conditions, roadway safety, roadway mobility, and limited multimodal and neighborhood connections. The purpose of ProPEL Indy is to identify potential solutions to address these needs. In December of last year, we released the Universe of Concepts, which included a wide range of possibilities that could be applied to one or more locations throughout the study area. Those concepts were evaluated, and 14 were carried forward for further consideration. Which brings us to where we are now, which is the release of the study's Draft Alternatives Identification and Screening Report, which we published last Friday. A key milestone in the study process where we have developed and evaluated planning-level alternatives to address the identified needs on I-65 and I-70 in Indianapolis. In addition, and in response to public feedback, the report introduces neighborhood connectivity and planning principles to guide future interstate projects toward better integration with surrounding communities. These principles emphasize safer and more accessible walking, biking, and connections across and near the interstates. We evaluated the study's spokes to identify ways to potentially add, improve, or enhance connectivity and placemaking specific to each location's needs. You can find connectivity considerations in the Alternative Identification and Evaluation chapter for each spoke in the report. Now, I'll walk you through the primary focus of the report, the identification and evaluation of alternatives. Planning-level alternatives were developed using solutions identified in the study's last phase, the Universe of Concepts, and the study team considered the following questions when developing these alternatives. Where should the concepts be placed along the corridor? Why should this concept be used? Does it address a specific need? And how should concepts be combined to address the location's needs? Next, each alternative was then evaluated on several factors. First, the purpose and need. Does the alternative address the identified transportation needs in the study area? Environmental impacts. What are the impacts on the natural, cultural, community, and socioeconomic resources? Cost estimates. What are the estimated costs for constructions, operations, and maintenance for each alternative? Constructability. What are the construction impacts, such as the length of construction and difficulty? And then community goals. Does the alternative address the study's community goals? These goals were aligned with the study's pillars of quality of life and livability, economic growth and opportunity, transportation and mobility, and transportation for all. So in the report, up to 7 planning-level alternatives were developed for each spoke. They range from basic reconstruction to transformative redesigns. Alternatives that meet the study's purpose and need are considered potentially reasonable and will be carried forward for further analysis. Those with limited benefits or disproportionate impacts have been eliminated from further consideration. Here is an overview of the primary concepts that were used on each of these alternatives. First is the no-build, which includes preventative maintenance and is considered the baseline condition. It's required to be included as a point of comparison in the study process. Rebuild with modern design and materials. This focuses on repairing and replacing aging infrastructure like bridges and pavement without changing how the interstate looks or functions. It's used to compare costs and benefits with more transformative alternatives. Rebuild with modern design and materials plus. This builds on the basic rebuild by adding small but meaningful upgrades to improve safety and traffic flow. Think of it as a smart repair. It keeps a similar footprint but makes the interstate work a little better for drivers. Added travel lanes. This adds a new lane in each direction where traffic operations are poor or expected to get worse in the future. It's designed to reduce congestion and improve travel times, especially in busy areas. Dynamic shoulder lanes. Uses the median shoulder as a travel lane during rush hour, giving drivers extra capacity when it's needed most. It's a flexible and space-efficient solution. Reversible lane. Adds a lane that changes direction depending on traffic flow. For example, heading into downtown in the morning and out in the evening. It's ideal for areas where traffic is heavily one-sided during certain times. Recessed interstate. This lowers the highway below street level. This design improves sightlines, walkability, and community access while keeping traffic moving efficiently. It can be paired with other upgrades to improve safety and operations. And then viaduct, which raises the interstate much higher than a typical bridge, up to 65 feet, creating a bright, open space underneath. This design allows for green space, natural light, pedestrian-friendly areas, transforming what's usually a dark, disconnected zone into a vibrant community asset. So the report breaks down each of the study spokes and the alternatives based on the specific needs of each spoke. Due to the complexities of the interstates in downtown Indianapolis, we actually separated what was our 6570 downtown spoke into 3 sections: 65 downtown, 6570 downtown, and 70 downtown. It's not confusing at all. So we'll start with the 65 spoke. This extends from the I-465, I-65 interchange on the northwest side of Indianapolis to the 21st Street interchange. We developed 7 alternatives for this spoke, including improvements to 38th Street and I-65. 65 downtown extends from Fall Creek to the west end of the North Split interchange. 5 alternatives were developed for this spoke, including potential improvements to the West Street interchange, as well as viaduct and recessed options for north of the North Split. 6570 downtown spoke extends south from Washington Street to include the South Split interchange, and slightly west on I-70 to the East Street Bridge. 3 alternatives were developed for this spoke, including potential improvements to the South Split. 70 downtown spoke extends from the White River to the South Split interchange. 6 alternatives were developed for this spoke, including both recessed and viaduct options to improve connectivity. 70 West spoke extends from the I-465, I-70 interchange on the west side to just west of the West Street interchange. 5 alternatives were developed for this spoke, including the use of dynamic shoulder lanes to improve mobility. And then the 70 East spoke extends from the east end of the North Split to the I-465, I-70 interchange on the east side. 4 alternatives were developed for this spoke, including potential improvements for the Keystone Rural Street interchange. So as a result of the evaluation process, each alternative was either recommended to be eliminated or carried forward for further consideration. Here's a summary of the recommendations included in the report for each spoke. Alternatives that are carried forward are considered potentially reasonable. These alternatives will be considered in future studies, but will require further analysis. Eliminated alternatives are considered unreasonable. They will not be evaluated further in this study and likely do not warrant consideration as part of any subsequent NEPA studies. And then alternatives that are carried forward with construction or operations costs beyond NDOT's traditional funds would be contingent on additional funding being identified. All right, so what's next for ProPEL Indy? So as I mentioned, ProPEL Indy will result in a wide range of reasonable alternatives for NDOT to consider for future projects. Alternatives carried forward from the study will require further analysis to determine if they are reasonable solutions for the area's transportation needs. No decisions have been made about the future of I-65 and 70 in Indianapolis. ProPEL Indy is a planning study. Multiple factors, including the urgency of identified needs, statewide priorities, and funding availability, will be considered when identifying future projects for the study area. Future projects identified as a result of ProPEL Indy could take place over the next 5, 10, or 20 years. ProPEL Indy's evaluation of the corridor identified locations within the study area with urgent needs that will require more immediate attention. This data can be found in the study's existing transportation conditions report available at propelindy.com. Examples include the I-65 bridge spanning from Alabama Street to Senate Avenue and pavement needs along the 70 West spoke from downtown to I-465. So public comments on the draft alternatives identification and screening report will be accepted through October 5th, 2025. You can review the full report and supporting documents at propelindy.com. After public and agency review, the report will be finalized. The final step of the ProPEL Indy study will be the development and publication of the PEL study report, which will document the study process. NDOT anticipates this report will be published in late 2025. Thank you for your time this evening. Members of the study team will be available following the presentation to answer your questions. Thank you for coming and have a good night.